Yes, okay. Okay, I'll call this meeting to order at 9:04, Executive Finance Committee meeting for June. I can certify that the open meeting law requirements have been met. Okay, you have a 13-item agenda in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I had called the clerk's office Friday, having forgotten to do that earlier in the week, to see if it was possible to add an item to the agenda related to beginning a discussion on what to do with the funds from the federal government, the $5-point-some-odd million we've got. And my question was, Paul wasn't present at the time, but my question was, is that a discussion we could have under item 11, or it is something?
Because it's COVID-19.
It is related to COVID-19, in which case, I'm fine with the agenda.
Okay, and I think there's going to be, Paul, you mentioned that there's going to be some things we won't have to discuss
Yes.
because of some changes from
When we get to
IT.
that part, when Tim has his
Yep.
number D, we'll go through.
Okay, any other comments before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of adopting the agenda signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, you also have a copy of the minutes of our previous meeting on May 3rd.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve,
Second.
and we have a second. Does anybody see any changes that need to be made? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, since we are broadcasting this, we will now have a time for the public to comment. The number you can call if you are watching this,
Someone was actually calling.
Probably.
number 715-538-1770. We'll give you a couple of minutes now, and then even if you do call later, we'll let you speak to us.
It's been ringing. Was it one of these, or was it that?
Let's see, who is it?
Answer all of them.
I thought it was one of these.
Debbie Foss.
Yes, the line was a 4-year-old could figure this out. But now it's finally-
Well, now it's ringing.
We laugh at that, but at school, if I don't know how to do something with the computers, ask the kids, and they all know what to do.
Well, nobody's calling now, so.
Now, we'll give them a minute or so.
Do this just in case.
I'm trying to read this letter really fast, and it's hard to read
Oh.
really fast.
Right.
I will tell you that the presentation from Mr. McCray is going to feel about the same.
Is Mr. McCray going to be here?
He'll be here about 9.
Well, that's good, because I remember we've had some unanswered questions last month about this. So,
We have.
darn if I can read this.
Good to have someone.
Okay, I think we'll move on. If somebody does want to call, you can still do so. We'll allow you to speak. Moving on then to our next item. Paul, our county sales tax update.
Okay,
That was pretty good news. Huh?
very good surprise, I guess I'd have to say. The collection that we got for May was $224,913.46 compared to last year of $143. So it's way up. It's even 40,000 higher than it was the year before last. So we're at $562,200.71 compared to $469 last year and $469 the year before. So we're almost 100,000 up.
Care to speculate on the reason for that, Paul?
I can. Well, maybe because the restaurants have reopened, different businesses are reopening, I suppose.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot. It was a big surprise.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Paul? Okay, general fund then?
The only change was the 2020 overruns, which I can't spell correctly, but $9,726, so we're still at $1,889,707.50.
Any questions for Paul on the general fund balance? Okay, Samuel's Group Venture Building Projects update.
Yeah, let's see some action out there.
Well, good morning, everyone. I just wanted to give you a brief update on where we are. Is my mic working?
Yes, it is.
We did extend the bid date, and I apologize, Paul, that I did not communicate clearly to you.
I said it was half my fault too because I didn't read the addendum. You told me to put it on the web, so I sent it to IT. They put it on the web, I didn't read it.
So we had a pre-bid meeting a couple of weeks ago and had participants come to the pre-bid, explain to them the bid process. And then after that pre-bid, we did have some contractors that had asked for an extension on the bid date, so we had it set for June 3rd. We pushed it to June 10th, just to get some more involvement and be able to collect some additional bids. So we have had
For the first phase of the construction project, the
Yep,
footings.
this is footing and foundations,
Right.
this is the utilities, and this is the excavating package that's currently out for bid. The plan is that we will receive bids at 2 o'clock on the 10th of June, and then after that, we will take the apparent low bidders and qualify them, and then it'll take about a week to do that, and then we'll have to come back. We may have to have a special property committee meeting, which I'll talk with them on Thursday about, just to award that next, that package based on those contractors that bid it. So contractors can bid it multiple ways. They can bid each individual bid category, or they can come in with a combined number and bid all of them as one package. And then it's a matter of identifying what is the lowest scenario, and then one is the qualified contractor to make sure that they have all the scope. So what we do is we go through and list everything with the contractors to make sure that they're in compliance with the bid documents, and then we'll bring that recommendation back to the property committee. Property committee will then approve them, and then we will get the contract in hand for them and then start the work. Bid Pack 2, which is the balance of the work, which is all of the precast, the structural steel, everything for the balance of the project. They're looking to wrap up those construction documents by the end of the month or early part of July, and we'll have the same scenario. We'll have a pre-bid where we'll allow contractors to come in, ask some questions. We'll have response to their questions via an addendum, and then we will have another bid day where we'll read those bid openings aloud, do a qualification process, come back to the property committee with a recommendation. Property committee will award those bids, and then we'll move forward in that manner. So we did have good attendance. We've actually had quite a bit of interest in the project, so I anticipate a good bid day coming up on Thursday. And the bid opening is at 2 p.m. Well, the bids are due at 2 p.m., and then shortly after that, we're going to go down into the Trempealeau room. So if you want to attend that, you'll be more than welcome to. We're going to read them aloud. So that'll be our official bid opening. So.
Question?
Go ahead, Tim.
Microphone, Tim.
Kurt, you anticipated one of my questions, which was, well, you mentioned did you say a healthy number or quite a bit of interest or something like that?
Yep.
So the pre-bid meeting would give you an idea of how many people are going to bid, how many contractors are going to bid. Can you give us a number, or is that premature? Or?
The pre-bid was not mandatory, so contractors were not required to attend. I think there were 7 contractors that attended the pre-bid. Since then, we've had about that same amount of number that have generated interest that didn't attend the pre-bid. So I'm anticipating that we're going to have, between 12 and 15 bids. Now, how they bid and what category is still up in the air. Some may bid a combined site utilities and an excavating package. Some of them may just do the concrete. Some of them may just do the entire package together. So you might see a combination of how they put the numbers together. But
Okay, good. Well, that's 12 to 15 is a good number, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
It may come down that you have 3 per category, and, that you end up having multiple scenarios where they add them. And I have had that where contractors will do different packages, where they may just do a site utilities and a excavating package separate, and then they'll do another bid that is a combined package. So they have that opportunity to do so.
I have one
Go
follow-up
ahead.
question, and two about, I remember the last time we talked, I've been kind of out of this for the last month or whatever. The last time we talked, you were talking about prices of materials and the skyrocketing price of lumber, which really doesn't affect this project
Right.
very much. But I think you were talking about steel and concrete. Have those numbers stabilized? Are they different, higher, lower? What's happening with that?
Steel has not stabilized. It still continues to increase, and indicators that I have been told by our vendors is that those prices will probably continue to increase until about third quarter of this year, and then they will come down to a decline. So in bid pack 2, I am anticipating that some of those numbers will be higher than anticipated, and then we will make a decision of whether we want to award that immediately or whether we want to rebid that after the steel prices, because they don't necessarily need to be awarded immediately, right? But it'll give us a placeholder. So it's just a strategy to navigate through these components. Concrete has been pretty stable. We haven't seen significant increases. We did deviate from the precast wall panels because we saw that there was a large influx of workload, that contractors couldn't turn them around quickly, but it's been pretty stable. The market that has just been crazy has been plywood and lumber and those sorts of things, and it's minimal in this project. But there's a fair amount of steel here between the detention frames that we have, and obviously Venture's done a good job of minimizing the amount of structural steel in the building. So you're seeing that a fair amount of it is CMU. We do have precast floor panels and columns and beams. That wasn't the market that was of the long delay. That was wall panels, so we've removed those from there. So I anticipate there'll be some bid categories on the second bid pack that we see some increases on, and we're just going to have to strategize as to how we award and if we accept those bids or whether we rebid it and revise the scope. It's the only thing you can do in this fluctuation of a market. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Is there a starting date when they are supposed to start by, or is that up to the discretion of who's awarded the bid?
Well, right now, we've identified that after we award the contract, is that we're going to have about a week to get the contract in place, and they would start immediately. Since we pushed that off a week by the extended bid date, I would anticipate that if we get with the property committee that, like, let's say the 17th of June, they'll probably start that following week once we get all their contract and insurance requirements in place. So.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Any other questions for Kurt? Okay, thank you.
I guess just the question that I would have moving forward, would you like me to give a monthly update to this committee and property, or do you want me just to focus that just to property moving forward? Whatever you would like to see, I will make that happen. So
I
whatever.
would think this one, wouldn't you?
I would
Yes.
minimize your time and
Yes.
report the property.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we can bring that in.
This
from
is
there.
fine, but it doesn't really mean anything.
Yes. Yes.
If he comes to county board every month anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yeah,
say.
that might be a better update for everyone.
So I'll plan to attend property and county board. If you ever
Yep.
want to put me on the agenda, just give me notice and I'll come here and give you an update.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing them and that I can get that on the calendar. So moving forward, I'll focus on property and board, and if you ever want me here for any reason, just let me know.
Okay, so then you said you will talk later about a possible meeting later this month to approve?
I'll have to do that with property.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The property
And that's
is-
on Thursday, yep.
Yeah, when we meet with property on Thursday, we'll have to talk about a special meeting to be able to award those.
Okay.
Just because we have the bid opening prior, or after your property meeting on Thursday, so,
Okay.
okay.
Oh, town hall bring once.
Okay, any other questions for Kurt? Okay, thank you for
Thanks,
your
everyone.
update.
Thank you, Kurt.
Okay, moving on then to our department report requests. I don't know, did Steve give us a letter? Because he did have an email that he put out that he was not going to be here.
Oh, he did? Did
Yeah.
he have anything in it?
Well,
I was guessing that this might have been him calling from
unless he's,
his conference.
I guess I don't remember now if he said, but he did have a letter that giving an update for, there was an email. I don't know if any of you have your computers.
When did that come in? I guess
It
I
was
haven't
last
checked my
week, it was
computer
last
since
week one day.
The end of the week.
I checked Saturday morning. I figured that would clean up the week, but I did not open up my computer this morning.
Okay, but there
I just
was,
know that he's at conference in the Dells.
yeah. But there was, and I guess I didn't print a copy off and I didn't bring my computer.
And the highway people are out partying together.
Oh, here we are. No, that's not Steve.
Dave.
Hey.
No, this is David.
We might have to skip him, because I don't have any.
Okay. Okay, but like I said, I did receive an email last week one day, or maybe it was on the weekend. I'm not sure, but there was an update saying that he was not going to be here. Okay, Mr. Niemeyer.
Good morning, everybody. Just a little update from my office. Probably the most significant thing, I think, as you all know, I have a full-time paralegal in my office, but I also have a part-time legal assistant. That legal assistant was Lisa Nelson from Human Resources, and they made that position full-time, so she took that full-time position. And so that my assistant position is no longer filled at the moment. She did great work for me, and I was sorry to see her go. Since she's left, I've kind of done some reassessment. I think originally when I came to the committee about having the part-time staff, I was hoping to shoulder some of my workload off to my paralegal, and then the legal assistant could help with certain things, and I'm finding that that was helpful, but it didn't solve my issue that I was dealing with. So and this isn't an action item on the agenda, but if you guys want me to come back next month, I certainly can. But what I am anticipating is, with the money that I had budgeted for Lisa, I was anticipating using some of that to have contract with an attorney to help me with some of my courtroom work. I haven't gone through all the details how that might work, but I just am finding that I have a number of items, and Tim, I know you're waiting for a response from me on an item as well, too. It's taking me longer to get to things that are coming in. They're coming in faster than I can get to them, and having someone who can maybe help out a little bit with some of the court work would free me up to do some of the other things. Board rules, I know those are to be addressed this year, and there's some proposals I want to suggest to the committee in regards to some revisions and additions to that. So those things are just, unfortunately, when the court stuff comes up, unfortunately, I got to deal with the court stuff right away. And so that's my thought. Anyhow, the money's in my budget, so I wouldn't need any additional money for any reason. But if the committee wants me to come back with a more detailed description of this, I certainly can. But otherwise, I was just going to take a look and see if I could get some help with some of that courtroom stuff. So,
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So, what are we talking, a hire or a contract, or?
contract.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there lawyers out there down at the street corner having coffee at the cafe looking for work? Or?
I actually did reach out to one that I'm familiar with who has extensive corp counsel work and background, but is in private practice. And again, had some just preliminary discussion just to see if the person was even interested, and they expressed interest. And the rate that they would be willing to do would be very favorable. So
there is, or there is a possibility of hiring a contract lawyer?
Correct, yes. Yep. I'm a little hesitant on doing somebody within the county, because we use those attorneys for guardian ad litem work in a lot of cases. And if they were to do contract work, then that would prohibit them from doing that. So I'm a little bit leery about taking someone from within the county for that reason.
That's sort of the nature of my question.
Yep, because GALs are hard to come by these days. There's less and less attorneys that are doing that kind of work, so.
I would imagine with the COVID being lessened now, that the court is moving along, catching up on some of the stuff that
They are,
they
yep.
put off for a year now.
Yep. We anticipated, the Supreme Court 2 weeks ago relaxed the rules on masks and social distancing in the courtroom. Judge has been on vacation, so now that he's back this week, I anticipate that we'll see some changes within with this building when it comes to the court stuff as well.
One question, Chuck.
Go ahead.
Rick, I'm uncertain, I'm a little unclear about who's in your office. Brittany is still with you?
Yep, Brittany is my
Lisa
paralegal.
is no longer in the building?
She is. She's full-time now with Human Resources. Because she was part-time between the two.
Yeah, I
Yep.
guess I wasn't, I really wasn't sure how you were sharing her position, but. okay.
Sure, yep. She would work 3 days in Human Resources, and I believe it was Wednesday, Friday? Yep. In my office is when she would work in my office. And then after Amy left and they were short-staffed, we did a temporary move over there where she would be full-time to help out, and then it turned into a permanent full-time position,
So you have one full-time assistant, that's Brittany.
Correct.
You have one full-time assistant, and that's Lisa,
As of right now.
as of right now.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That, just unsure about how that was working.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So, did you want me to come back with more details on this in a future meeting before I reach out and make it official?
Yeah, probably we
Okay,
should
all right.
have done it.
Yeah, with budgets and so
Yep.
forth.
Okay, I'll get that on the agenda with Paul the next month, and we'll go from there. So,
Okay.
okay. Thank you. Other than that, nothing else. Everything seems to be moving along. Good. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I don't know if you need me around for other items. I certainly can stay. I just have court at 9:45, so if I do, I need to leave at that point in time.
Yeah, I do have one. Just be
Go ahead.
short. You
Yep.
mentioned changes to the county board rules. Are you going to, are they extensive? That piques my curiosity. I'm just wondering what you have in mind. Or what
Sure.
We'll hear about it. We can listen. We can.
Well,
hear
that
it.
is our next item anyway, so.
Correct.
Well, actually, that's more
Just on
has to
one,
do with
yeah.
land records.
It's just one change.
Yeah.
That's one change, right.
I know that
No,
there's.
we're talking about something more extensive or more.
Correct.
right.
Kind of wanted to add, I know one has been discussed about putting a rule in regarding virtual meetings, attending by virtual, board members doing that, so that was one of them. And then maybe some, I was just thinking about shoring up maybe a little bit in regards to voting, how that occurs, just a couple other miscellaneous ones to put in there. Nothing significantly drastic, but just to bring them as proposals, and then you guys can discuss whether you want them or how you want to tweak them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Stick around for the next thing.
Okay, yep, I can do that.
Okay, anything else on that item? Okay, so then going on to item C under 9, County Board Rules, changes regarding realignment of land records and real estate lister GIS specialist department with oversight by the Executive Finance Committee.
Rick, do you want to lead on that, or?
I certainly can. I believe, Paul, you said you sent out that. Okay, that is the ordinance, and really, it just is a matter of adding underneath exec finance that they would be the oversight for the land records department. I looked under the ELU section of our ordinance, and actually land records is not listed under there, so I didn't need to make any changes there. And so really, it would be the oversight of, that would be the change to the ordinance, is adding them as the oversight under exec finance. So the highlighted portion would be the addition.
Just add land records department.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Are we talking about 9C now, Chuck? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah.
The respective change would also occur in the board rules, because we have these things in our board rules as well, but I know that's an ongoing thing at the moment, so.
Well, I do have a question. Unfortunately, I know I did receive a copy of the ordinance. I don't have it with me. But the ordinance makes the change in terms of supervision. But have we talked about or determined where a physical location for the Department of Land Records?
Mr. Chair, I think I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Actually, you could probably answer that better than I do. But at the Environment Land Use Committee, the Environment Land Use Committee took the recommendation from the Land Records staff and voted unanimously to recommend that they be moved to the Wisconsin room. Mr. Wallach, who was our representative from Property Committee, pointed out that that's really a decision that property needs to make, and that discussion will be held in the Property Committee.
Has Jeremy weighed in on this? Because I know, I just know, in terms of moving the wiring, all the apparatus that Land Records uses, that was recently installed up here. Yeah, I remember, I don't have anything firm on that, but I know Jeremy seemed to be, have some reservations about moving all that stuff. So I see that as the bigger problem here.
We did get something from IT, so I don't know if Tim wants to weigh in on that, that room.
I'm not sure, are you addressing the location of land records in today's meeting?
Oh, if we're going to talk, I mean, I don't know where else we would talk about it. If we're not going to talk about it under realignment, I don't know where else we're going to talk about it.
It's on the agenda for Thursday's property meeting.
Yeah, I think
also.
I'm interested in hearing about it, but I think the Property Committee is the one that makes that.
We got to start the ball rolling
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, IT would have some reservations because they do have a large number of network connections. They need access to plotters and larger pieces of equipment. And I don't think the Wisconsin room would meet their needs.
So if we made this change today, if we approved the ordinance that changed the supervisor, made this committee the head of land records, or the supervisory committee for land records, that would be fine, but we still haven't addressed the problem or the question of whether or not to move land records.
Well, it
And
may
that-
be
that-
that the move won't happen until construction.
So
I mean, that's a
essentially,
possibility.
land records would be where they are until a second decision was made.
So we're dealing with two issues. One of putting
Yes.
the department under us for a supervisor and another of physically moving their place of business,
Potentially, yeah.
potential, yep. So we could act on the actual moving to,
There was again, unanimous support from Environment and Land Use Committee to support this, to support this move to the Executive Finance Committee. So I would make a motion to change the ordinance to the language that's before us.
do we have a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, is there further discussion then?
Yeah, you know me, Chuck. I do have a reservation about, as I see this, what's happening, if we approve this, we have, and Nick will resonate with this, we have created a landlocked department. We have created 3 people sitting in a room that under one supervisory committee, surrounded by a lot of other people under a different committee.
What a great reason for for an expansion of the courthouse.
Well, that's neither here, I mean, right now, this is right in front of us right now. That's my reservation about making this change.
Any other
If there
comment?
anybody has any comment, I'd be happy to hear it.
Well, I generally would have, I mean, we've talked about this for a significant amount of time. It was 6 months ago that we heard the recommendation from staff for a change of supervision, and the committee, starting a couple months ago, actually began some serious discussion about it, came to this committee, and then Environment and Land Use Committee supported it, and it's back here for the actual official change, which again would have to go to the county board. The department has been working efficiently in the space it is. There is, even all through COVID, all the services were being rendered and so forth, either virtually or through email or in person. And just in terms of how it is that land records functions, whether there's, a communication from the front door or from the desk at Department of Land Management, people are still getting things done. So Tim, thank you for pointing out the technical difficulties. They got all their cool equipment back there. So a move is not impossible because it's been done before, clearly, I think a couple times. And
We've only had an office for 1 year
yeah,
in the last 6, so we finally got an office.
right. So they have an actual office with a door, and as opposed to a hallway or a corner. So I guess the question would be, can you guys function back there? Continue. Yeah. So I think the functionality of the location the point is moot. They have been, they are now, and they will be until whatever move comes after the reconstruction.
Anything else, Tim?
Nope, I thought somebody should bring that up.
Anyone else have any questions? So then that would mean that, quarterly, they would come and present to us probably an update then as to what's happening in the department, like we have
It's
several?
actually pretty cool. There's flights and pictures of the county, and yeah.
I was just going to mention that at one of the quarters, there's only one department reporting.
Right.
All the others have 2, so we know right where they're going to be sitting. So,
And you've got that in the agenda already. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, so we have a motion in front of us to move guidance of the physical reporting of land records to executive finance.
Specifically,
John has joined us on the screen there.
Okay. John, do you have any comments?
Specifically, the motion is to approve the changes to the ordinance.
Yep, okay.
That sounds good.
Okay, he said, sounds good. Okay, so all those in favor of the proposed change signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
You gotta wait for him now.
Okay, John?
He said it.
He said aye? Okay, so that passes then, and then we'll leave the movement, the actual physical movement, further discussion. Is that something we probably want on the next agenda, or are?
That would have to go to property.
Oh, we'll start with property's gonna be a big meeting. Okay, so land management or land records department is now under the supervision of the
After the county
executive, after the county board meeting, under the executive finance committee. Okay, so we move on to D, IT director requests. And Tim, there is some things that we can discuss that aren't necessary here.
I don't have a copy of the agenda in front of me.
Okay, our first one said that.
No, and that's fine,
request-
that's fine, because I want to give an update on that anyway. At the recommendation, I talked to Paul and some others about this, producing resolutions for these, to submit them for FEMA funds, and it was suggested that I talk to Integrity Group to see if these are the types of items that are still covered under FEMA, and much to my chagrin, they are not. These are now considered standard operating procedures. You should be preparing for remote functionality as an organization in both how you get things done as a government and how we work as a department. So it's no longer considered an emergency, and they thought it was highly unlikely that these items would get reimbursed. So rather than seeking FEMA funds, I'm using budgeted funds for small items equipment to take care of number one. Instead of getting two of them, one for the future data center and one for the existing data center, I'm purchasing the one. So that will no longer be a request of this group. Request for funding for paperless board management solution, also not considered FEMA fundable, and so we met as a group and went through the processes, and we think the IT department will be able to create something in-house for the collection and distribution of board materials for all the subcommittees and the meetings. But we're still working that out. IT has to put something together, and then we'll deliver that to Paul and his team and then the other stakeholders and make sure that works. So no request for number two. Number three is something that a lot of departments want. It's a cloud-based application system that would allow citizens to interact with the county and put in for permits and applications and whatnot. But it's also not covered by FEMA, so I will be bringing that up in the next budget cycle and making proposals so that the board can consider it as a year-over-year expense. So number three is dropped. There should have been a resolution in here for the other one, though, right?
They got it.
Okay.
You should have it on your desks. I think Lynn handed it out.
No, only thing we have is the food
The food
pantry.
pantry.
You don't have the one for the.
I think we saw it last month.
So the only one that I was bringing forward is the one that got whacked. It's not there.
I'll give it to Chuck, because
Okay.
I have it.
Okay. And I'll read it then, and then we can go from there. There you go. Okay, this is a resolution regarding transfer from the general fund to IT for technology security consulting. Whereas the Trempealeau County information technology staff are not always able to complete every critical technology security task and problem mitigation needed to protect the county and its information, and whereas in 2020, a complete security evaluation was conducted that analyzed and identified existing security measures and made recommendations for further action using multiple industry standard metrics, and whereas the information technology staff tasked with implementing the security components identified in the 2020 security evaluation lack many of the required skill sets, have limited access to training, and do not have the necessary time to correct the identified concerns. and whereas the security evaluation results are not available prior to the completion of the 2021 budget, and whereas the estimated cost to secure a third-party consulting firm for the enhancement of the county's security status by correcting 6 enhanced security controls is $27,000. And whereas the purchase of these services will greatly assist in allowing existing in-house staff to mitigate security issues, protect county data, and prevent a loss of critical services. Now, be it resolved that the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors approve the transfer of $27,000 from the general fund to account 101.51450.210 for the purpose of securing a third-party consulting firm to assist in improving the county's technological security situation. And introduced by Property Committee, Exec Finance Committee. So this is on the agenda for Thursday, then also for the Property Committee.
So, can I move for
Go
adoption?
ahead, go, yes, we'll, then we can
I'll move
discuss.
to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now, discussion.
May I ask the question?
Sure, go ahead.
How vulnerable are we?
I'm not prepared to answer that question in detail in a public session.
Yes, you're right. You told me not to ask that. Have you gotten multiple bids? Is this a sort of a good price, that sort of thing?
We are buying a block of time with a consultant that we worked with on the evaluation, and we wanted to get a good working relationship with them. We are working on the multi-factor authentication project and hardening of the boundary devices with them. So my team has had a time to work with them, and they've passed the application process as far as, because you have to have a good working relationship with the consultants you bring in, because if they don't document or don't do what they're saying, you can be left holding the bag. So we are going with Cap Data on this particular block of hours. In the past, we've gone with Heartland Business and Winds out of Eau Claire. So we've moved it around to get different eyes looking at different situations. I'd be happy to share the 6 items of security concern that we are going to be repairing with you, but on an individual basis, if you please, so we don't air that information in public. I do have a presentation today, but
Does it involve a gas pipeline?
well, that's part of all, everybody's aware of that.
I mean, it is in the news, as it were.
Oh, those are the back ones.
Email address or what?
Probably not going to be able to see it. Looking forward to the new public safety and justice building, so we can have some big TVs so you can see what you're looking at.
8081.
So we'll see if I can work from here. Oh, yeah, see, there's no way you're going to be able to see that. All right.
I can make out certain words.
Well, basically, I just wanted to cover some of the things that we are concerned about, go into what we've done, and what happened once we did those things. We've got some new issues. What's in process? How did COVID affect us? The new Justice Center, and one of the things the Property Committee tasked me with was, is the existing staff going to be able to do the work that's required to go over the next 2 years? And so this resolution is part of that. We don't have the in-house staff. We feel like hiring consultants is the way to go to try and move forward rather than spending money, and that's kind of what this presentation is here to say. The existing issues, the old ones that are still there, we still have a lack of redundancy on some of our public safety systems, and in IT, redundancy is 2 power supplies, 2 network connections that go this way, 2 sets of everything, so if something fails, you don't have a dispatch there sitting there going, where's our stuff? So physical and logical redundancy is still our biggest concern. We have no real-time boundary alert system, no automatic mitigation, so that's the devices that protect us from the Huns on the outside. And we are like 98% of all small government organizations, that's just not something we can afford right now, is to have somebody else that's monitoring that 24/7 and automatically mitigating things when they happen. So we're not alone in that danger. We still have some generic users on the network. Because of workflows or existing situations, people are signing in as Arcadia PD or signing in as front desk, because it's like a kiosk computer. Though that's not something that's acceptable in any organization, because you need to know who's signing into what. We have security concerns for the finance system. We haven't implemented the changes that have been proposed. State required software, they still got half of our departments have to interact with the state using Java-based applications, but they can't be past a certain version of Java. In fact, the Java version they're using is like almost 8 years old. And so there's huge security vulnerabilities in that. And there's really no way around it for us, because the state requires them to access it with that level of Java. We now have over 193 mobile devices that the county distributes to staff. So people are out remote connecting.
You're talking about smartphones and laptops?
Smartphones,
Tablets.
hotspots, tablets, things to that effect. And when it's cellular, we don't have any centralized control of that. So we've got like 6 versions of iPhone, 10 versions of Android, all these different devices out there. We have no standardized control over that. So that's one of the problems that we're going to have to face. And then we have more county staff that are using personal devices. People are showing up to work with their own personal smartphone. They're able to load apps on their phone and do stuff. During COVID, I was taking and making phone calls from my home number, which is great for convenience, but at 6:30 on Friday night, when somebody from California calls to ask me about the message they left me, I'm like, I'm golfing, leave me alone. What we have done, we've done a lot of stuff in the last few years. We no longer have an Exchange server on site, which was a huge relief, because there was a great big Exchange zero-day vulnerability that was crushing a lot of organizations. They were getting hit real bad. We didn't have that anymore, thank goodness. The website is now hosted in somewhere else. So that's 2 great big computers that had tons of processing power sitting on our network that are no longer here. We have a unified domain security solution. It's taken us 3 years to get there. We're almost there. We now have centralized management of desktop and server security platforms. So we got one pane of glass we can go look at and see what's going on every desktop security-wise. Are they patched? What are their vulnerabilities? We're moving ahead there. We secured the boundary and created the VPN access securely,
VPN
just in
is?
time. Virtual private network. So that was what allowed people to work remotely on county devices. And we got it done like 3 months before the COVID hit. So I'm super happy that got done. We also have an audit appliance deployed now that has really helped out a lot with some security issues. It's alerted us a couple times when we had people were sending information out to sites that were compromised. And so we were able to track down what was going on there. And that was related to the most recent hack of USAID, company called Constant Contact. I don't know if you're familiar. Constant Contact is a service that a lot of governments and companies use to keep in touch with their customers with automated email. And it embeds a little nugget in all their pictures. So the moment you download the pictures in the email, it sends a message back saying that you've read the email. Well, once they got compromised through USAID, then that became a compromised site, that IP address. So we had hundreds of alerts popping up last week because people were getting Constant Contact emails and it was sending that little message back. So we were able to, Daryl was able to block that IP right away, and we were able to figure that out and stop potential ransomware situation. Some of the things that we did get done have created some new issues for us. Adding access into the public safety software system for regional agencies, so Arcadia PD, Whitehall PD, Independence PD, so they can gain access and have an RMS system through the police department is a great thing, and the sheriff was visionary to see that providing that to the local agencies was going to help them. And it's great, except now we have security concerns we have to deal with, and we're getting lots of communities that are having to hire outside help to bring themselves in compliance with those security requirements that the county has. So we're looking at that moving forward. That's going to be a major issue over the next few years. We are Office 365, but we haven't got Office 365 set up yet, so that the only way you can connect is by coming through the secure network. People can go on their phone and they can connect from Starbucks and go out and check their email, because it's a workflow. We tell them not to, but there's no way to stop it yet. So we're working on that. That's a potential concern. We've got all these tools with Office 365. We had no idea they even came with it. We just wanted to get the email moved to the cloud. Well, now we've got this magic thing called OneDrive. And employees are figuring OneDrive out. They're using it in the correct way. They're using it as a way to take large files and share them with other agencies. Well, we don't really have the policies and mechanisms in place to stop them from doing other things that maybe would be more dangerous. So we have to work through that. It's both a policy that we have to write, and then it's policies we have to put in place. And then mobility is coming at a cost, and that's what this post-COVID world, we're seeing a lot more people that are using devices out in the wild, and the more exposure we have outside the boundaries, physical boundaries, the more security issues we're running into. So what we're doing to mitigate this, we are going to be rolling out multi-factor authentication this summer. Don't worry, county board members are not currently scheduled to be getting multi-factor authentication, so you won't have to deal with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, but everybody else will have to, anybody that signs into the network and has access to data will be adding a device that they'll have to use to sign in, so we can prevent. Because both the pipeline hack and the JSB meat hack were both done with, somebody got an email saying we needed to see your credentials, and they basically gave away their username and password, and that's how they gained access to the network. So that's the number one way to get embarrassed. We are currently hardening all the servers and devices. We're making it more difficult for viruses and malware to execute on, if it does come into place. The users don't have admin rights to their own PCs, so the program won't execute. So we're working on that. We're limiting local authority to workstations. We're setting up redundant network connections on all our servers, and we're working on policies and procedures to make Office 365 more secure. The challenges we're facing, as mentioned, working from home, mobile devices have become indispensable, and they come with all kinds of problems. Citizens want access to more data. They want to see more stuff. And so the more information we put out on the web, the more information people see, the more curious hackers get, and you become a target.
So tell me, what sort of stuff, may I ask a question here?
Go ahead.
So what sort of stuff are you talking about that we're putting out on the web which gets people more interested in other stuff and then gets hackers interested? Like,
The number
are
one-
we talking about just meetings? Are we talking about documents? You know, we register of deeds, digitized everything.
Yep.
What are we talking about?
And the number one way to draw eyes is controversy.
Yeah.
So when the sand issues were going on years ago, that drew eyes. If you have a deputy-involved shooting, you're going to become a target. That's the kind of information that we would normally, 20 years ago, if you had an officer-involved shooting, it's not going to end up in a public forum like that would have people's trying to gain access to your network. Now you put information out there, the sheriff has a page, and now it draws attention when you have controversial things happen. The recent Second Amendment proposal resolution has created a lot of headlines and information, and the more information we're putting out there for the county board, it draws eyes.
So are you talking about emails? Are you talking about texts? Are you talking about sharing stuff? Like
I'm talking about the county website
Okay.
and county social media.
All right, so people are commenting on social media and on the website.
Right. The more information we put out there, and citizens want to see it there, The more information you put out there, the more eyes you draw, the more interest people have, the more interest, it just creates if you just have a calendar out on your website and come to the meetings kind of thing, you're gonna get less interest, but. Security statistics, I don't wanna bore you. Some of you are gonna have to go through this twice or 3 times, so. Just the scary one is, in 2021, the ransomware attack predictor is once every 11 seconds, somebody's getting hit with a ransomware request. And we don't know the full depth of it because most of the settlements are done on the down low. They don't tell you and insurance companies will push you to pay the ransom. So you don't even know about most of them. The FBI has reported that since the since the pandemic began, we've seen a 300% increase in reported cybercrime. People are sitting at home with nothing to do. You can go out and spend $250 on the dark web and get a hack kit where you can bust onto any network, crack passwords. You can just, it's cybercrime as a service.
A service?
It's a service. You can go just pay for it and they'll sell you the kit and you just turn it loose. So next time I'll bring up some new ones. So moving forward, I just wanted to give this committee, it's a cool ringtone. The first part of what we're asking for is this piece right here, this resolution where we're getting some help to go through and mitigate the things that were identified in the HAVA sub-grant where we had a security evaluation. We're gonna get that documented and then we're not done. There's still another dozen items in the next column over that we'll have to address, but some of them are outside what we can afford, but we'll keep moving forward on the security side. One of the ways we want to move forward is with policy. The days of buying a PC and setting it on a desk and then leaving it and letting it run as long as you can, those are over. We can't do that anymore because once they stop supporting the operating system, once they stop supporting the firmware, then you have vulnerabilities. And the more vulnerabilities you have, the more security issues you run into. Plus, Scott Waldera does a great job repairing PCs, but he can't compete with Dell or Lenovo or their support. So if it's under warranty, we send it back, we get it replaced. We don't want to keep gear around forever. So we'd like to have a more aggressive replacement schedule on equipment because we need something more maintainable. We also have concerns about making things scalable, and by scalable I mean being able to adapt and change the central operations as we need to without having to bring in whole new systems. Right now we have 20 servers sitting in a room downstairs, and every time there's a new application that needs to get added or some department is having a new database they need put in, I have to buy a physical server. We have to build that front end on that server, then attach it and connect it to a database. And with what we are proposing is something that would be scalable and modular so that when we add things, we spin it up and it's ready to go. I'll be going into more detail with property. This is kind of a heads up for exec finance. I'm not asking for, aside from that resolution, I'm not asking for big numbers today.
Today, did you catch that? Today?
Today.
Yes.
We caught it.
Okay.
We have to upgrade the network for the new building. We with the amount of video cameras going up and what's happening, that is a requirement. So we approached the process for the Justice Center and worked with Samuel's group and worked with the Oversight Committee, and we did secure a commitment to improving the network backbone to make the new building functional and improving and creating a proper data center with materials in it instead of a basement full of servers. What's happening though going forward is we're having a hard time planning. We've scoped out both projects now on how we want to proceed, and we got a ballpark figure about how much that's going to cost to do what we want to do. But as long as it's floating out there as a cost, waiting for it to be executed on the building project, we can't move forward because we don't know if the money's going to be there when it's our turn. So what I was wondering is, I wanted the board, first with exec finance and property, to look at what we're proposing and determine if you want to set aside money inside the building project and firm that up so I know exactly what we're dealing with, or tap into funds elsewhere in the general fund or in next year's budget, or however you want to proceed. But I wanted to get an opportunity to put it in front of you so I could get a commitment now as to how much money is going to be available for these things, so we can go out and actually start looking into solutions. Because it's going to take my team time to put these things together. And if we're waiting for the cost of materials to drop and then say, well, I guess IT, you're not going to get that, then I'm caught with, my solution, I have to start all over again to redesign the solution. So that's why we're doing this. Virtualization is the way we hope to accomplish this. And I'm just not going to put you through that conversation right now as to what's involved in virtualization. But it does give us more operational flexibility. It does make it for something that my staff can support for a very long time. So with that, I put together a 10-year budget comparison.
Can I stop now, because I'm going to forget?
Okay.
If you go through this, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead,
Okay,
George.
so you're asking us, you're creating a scenario related to funding for your build-out of your department and its needs, and the county's needs within the new Justice Center, as well as within the remodel.
Right.
You obviously were paying attention during the Samuels Group presentation. I guess my question is, or my surprise question is, was the budget for IT not part of our $43 million package?
It is.
Okay, so your concern is that the price of materials are going to wipe out part of the remodel budget or part of the IT budget. I'm getting that. And the two options you're giving us are that we firm up the commitment to that budget part of it, no matter how much the cost goes up, and then the county finds another way to fill in the gaps, or you just forget about what that budget, assume there's going to be overruns, and then we start looking at budgeting it for the next few years. Is that a conversation we want to have? I mean, is it, or, I mean, clearly you're saying it is one we want to have because we may be left with nothing if we run out of money.
Okay, so I am
I'm
not an
trying to
elected
summarize-
member of this board.
I know,
so
I'm trying to summarize what I
I'm not here
heard.
to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
I'm here to ask, and I'm hopeful that I can sway you to commit one way or another to the funding now, or next month, or sometime this summer, so that we can move forward and start designing the actual solution and putting it out for bid.
Well, I assume that when we approved that budget, we had committed to that, correct?
Well, there was
the
never
bonding,
a
rather.
number assigned to it.
Okay.
Approved by budget.
Well, the approving the bond. So
We didn't break it down into categories.
Right.
so we just took that $40 million estimate, $3.7 million estimate, and then so. I mean, I understand what you're saying. So, but you had input in that discussion in terms of
Correct.
how much the IT component of that was going to be.
But that can vary wildly depending on who's doing the designing and who's doing the asking.
Is it going to come down to either we build...
Microphone, Tim, please.
Well, first of all, may I have the floor?
Go ahead.
Sorry, George.
I'm just working for the guys in the back, that's all.
I think George is trying to clarify and just put everything into boxes so we can think about it.
Right.
And so that's what I'm trying to do. And so I see this, you're saying you're probably going to ask for a lot of money, and there's two places the money could come from. One might be from somewhere else in the Justice Department budget, and another source might be from somewhere in next year's budget or from the general. There are three sources. Taking it from the general fund is not the same as building it into next year's budget.
Right.
So I guess that makes three possible.
And then
sources.
there's four. There's ARPA funds. So there's myriad ways you could do it. I'm just here to ask for the commitment, and I'm sorry, but I guess it's you're gonna have to figure out how to fund it. I'm not gonna presume to tell you how to figure that out.
Mr. Chair, another
ahead, George.
question. We don't have a number.
Well, that's where I'm going.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, there it is. All right.
Okay, so with my proposal, in 2021, I'm requesting $36,866. And that would be the $27,000 that you got today, and then $9,800 and some odd dollars for hardware support on some servers that we've got that are way outside of support that run critical applications for organizations. So we need hardware support with a firm. I got some quotes from different firms, and I would continue to put that out for bid. But I'm proposing we get those things covered by some warranty. The 5-year cost and 10-year cost, if the funding is approved for what I'm proposing, comes to about $402,810. If adding IT staff is one of the alternatives that we consider, and basically that comes out to I would need about $54,000 this year and a total of $11,726 in over 10 years. So 1.3 million more dollars.
11, yeah, okay, I see, yeah.
If we do nothing and don't do the proposal we're asking for, it still costs $300,000 more than what we're proposing, because we still have to pay for support and replace the equipment. And I have that all broken out, and I'll be sharing that with board members as you move forward, but I don't really want to drag you through it right now. Yeah, that's basically just some of the concerns I have about our proposal is that post-COVID, I'm not sure what my team's ability to keep on top of all the issues is going to be. They're starting to take some time off now, finally, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to handle everything that's going to get thrown at us through this building project.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead,
I'm going to
George.
forget this if I don't ask it now. What do you mean by virtualization? Are you talking
He
about?
said he didn't want to talk about it.
But George wants to dip into it.
No, I do, no, because is it, are you talking about basically creating an empty building with everyone working remotely,
No.
including county board supervisors?
Virtualization to a nerd is
To a nerd.
where you take, instead of a box and it has an operating system on it, and then you have another box with another operating system, and you make them talk to each other, and you got another one that has this, and this one's a database, this one's a front end, and this is a web portal. Now it's just a collection of boxes. We call them nodes. We're looking at a 4-node solution, and it has everything you need right in it. But on that will live 50 different servers that you can build virtually. And they all run, and then they leverage resources. It draws less power. It's got more redundancy built into it. It's fantastic stuff. But it comes with difficulty under the old way of doing it, because you'd have a stack of hard drives in one spot, a fancy network you'd have to build for it, plus all kinds of stuff. By converging it into the one appliance, it's just one place that the team has to go look and say, oh, we're running out of memory on the law enforcement side, we better move some over. So it gives them one place to manage everything, instead of trying to figure out how to, having gone through a virtualization process the old way, this is definitely the way our staff really wants to go at it. So virtualization to us is
I just- in a
taking
sense,
the
I didn't want to be
workload and
eliminated.
combining it into one thing. And it's fascinating
Create a
stuff.
computer program to replace George Brandt. That's what it's going to do.
That's coming.
That's
what I'm
coming.
afraid
That's
of.
right around the corner.
AI is hitting a wall, though. Don't let them scare you on AI.
I'm not scared of it.
Good. So Microsoft licensing under that scenario is one of the trickier aspects, because now you've got virtual servers. So how many licenses do you need? And so Microsoft gets to be a bit abusive there. We are still intending to keep all the equipment we have in the old data center, but that is going to become our archive, our backup farm, where it's just dumb storage that we would keep extra copies of everything. I still don't know what the future holds. We may end up coming back to you someday and saying, I need new staff, but I'm hopeful that we will avoid that. So the reasons we want to go with this solution is it's a lower cost. Over 10 years, we've averaged it out. It provides operational flexibility. If we are discovering that we're getting all this video, we need slow disk, I can just add a module for slow disk. I don't have to buy all new equipment. You just add the pieces you need. So it gives you the flexibility as an operation when you run into problems or new things that need a solution. You can do it for less cost up front, and then you're leveraging the existing investment instead of having to bring in something all new. So we're hopeful there. It provides proper redundancy. That's the biggest thing, so that if the public safety software system, if the virtual part of that, the host that's running that fails, that'll just automatically connect over and run in a different part of that environment. So it provides at least the logical redundancy that we're looking for. Someday, magical, when Trempealeau County's flush with cash, we'll get a second one of these and it'll live out at highways, and then you have physical redundancy. But I don't know when that magic day is going to be here.
Actually, that is on an agenda item on the bottom.
Maintainability, that is the team, when we scoped out the project, that was our number one goal, is that it could be supported by the people working here. And it could be supported at a cost that's reasonable to the county. That was our number one, not just the upfront cost, but that year over year cost. We wanted to be able to have something that we could control and that we as a staff could maintain without having ever increasing costs to bring in more equipment, more people, more long-term costs. And hiring additional staff is not a panacea. That group of people, the four of them, I don't know if you've heard, but they really work well together. And I really don't want to muck that up by bringing in somebody from the outside. Who knows? You might get somebody that's shiny on an application, but they're malcontent. And then we're stuck with a non-functional department that we didn't have to do. I mean, they really love working together, and I don't want to break that up. So it doesn't always work just to hire somebody. So that's it. I do have the budget numbers, and I will distribute them so you can see how I came up with those numbers, and I'd be happy to share with that. But basically what I'm asking for to consider, I was going to bring up at property, I've been advised that the networking solution somewhere around $170,000 to $200,000 and $250,000 for the virtualized data center environment. So altogether, somewhere around $500,000 is what we're looking for to be set aside as part of the public or the Justice Center building project. And because I believe that was included in the thinking and that Kurt had and that the designers had, but they haven't actually put a number on it yet. It's just a discussion that I'm hoping to have. So
That was the number I was looking for.
I know, that's why I saved it for the end, because that way you'll remember it.
So that's what they have built in.
They haven't built anything in yet. They're doing it as they go through, and they're adding items in. So I told Kurt, I talked to him about this, and he thought this would be a good way to approach it, to make sure everybody here understands over the next month or two what it is that we're hoping to accomplish, and then you can ask questions of the people doing the design work. If this is something that's common, if this is a way to do it, feel free to explore this however you wish. But if they're saying, well, we only thought about maybe 200,000, well, then we'd either have to reevaluate or I'd have to come to you for more money if we wanted to go this direction.
Have you talked to Kurt, you said you really have, he is not aware of a number. He is not aware of that.
He has not presented me with a number. He's presented me with a number on the design considerations they've made so far with regards to cabling, power, some of the elements in the computer room, but they're not done doing the design work. In fact, I got some emails last week that I'm going to have to review and give my say-so on. So, yeah, they're still working through that process, and I don't know what that number is eventually going to be, but
we'll have to talk with him because
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the way Tim presented excuse me, the way Kurt presented this about an hour ago was bid package 1, bid package 2. Bid package 1 was real fundamental footings and stuff like that. Bid package 2 was everything else. And bid package 2 is coming up in July, maybe a month. So we'd have to make some sort of a decision here about that $500,000 in
Yeah,
the
because
next month.
bid package 2, you'd
If it's
be.
going to be built into bid package 2.
I don't think it's going to be built into bid package 2 because we're doing our own process of obtaining bids. We're isolating these elements from the rest of that bid process.
One thing, we don't want to tack on more money, in a year and say, oh, we should have thought of that. We don't want to do that. That's something we have to avoid.
Right, and I welcome bringing the designers into this conversation. That's why I wanted to meet with you in advance, and I think it's important to get the consulting money right away so we can work on the security solutions for the remainder of the year. But the rest of it is all stuff to be digested and thought about, but I'm hopeful that between this committee, the property committee, the full board, and then working with the Samuels Group and the venture people, that we'll get to a number, and then we can start moving forward on putting together the RFPs and the statements of work for what we're hoping to accomplish as a data center.
Will you bring this up again on Thursday at the property?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So basically, we're gonna get a number and give that to Kurt. And then he's gonna tell us yes or no if that fits his budget, right?
I'm gonna let the property committee do that.
So we truly gotta do that as soon as we can, obviously.
Right.
Property meeting is on Thursday, so.
Yep.
2 days.
I'll be doing that on Thursday, and then I'll take the direction of the property committee on that, however they'd like to proceed, so.
I have several questions on numbers, but I don't think we have to worry about that now.
Okay,
I guess my basic question, you come up with $36,000 to get us through this year.
yep,
And then you went down to 10 years where we're talking in the millions.
yeah.
I guess I have several questions why we went from 36,000, but that'll be another place, I would
Well,
guess.
I can actually explain that. Everything I put up there for this year is outside of my existing budget.
Right. Oh, the other one would be your total budget.
The rest of it would be the total with
I
everything
understand.
that's going to be inside
Okay.
the budget.
Okay.
And I break it all down and put it out, and some places it's a conservative estimate, some places it's a little bit out there. It's hard to predict the future, so I was trying to make it so you could compare apples to apples. It might not necessarily be 100% accurate, and once we go through the numbers, you'll see that, wow, he's keeping his small items budget at 25,000 for 10 years. Is that gonna work? Well, I hope so, but you never know.
Okay. Tim? Joe? So I'm actually going to reference something off of what Doc just said. Doc was talking about the numbers you just had up there. So you had a chart, you had 9 boxes, 3 columns, 3 rows. Reading from left to right, the columns said proposal, second column said with IT, with additional staff, the third column said do nothing. Am I reading your implications correctly when the first column is your suggested approach, and the middle column is not really your suggested approach, and the third column is don't do this? Am I reading into it?
Yeah, you can read it that way if you want.
Well, you know how I look at things that way.
I'm really reticent to ask for staff, and the property committee has been really wonderful to work with. They've sensed the concern of burnout for my staff. Are we able to meet the needs? This Justice Center is going to be a huge lift for my department. So they've always been asking me, can you do this with your staff and keep moving forward? And so we've been evaluating that and trying to come up with a way to mitigate that potential problem. We really don't want to hire somebody if we can avoid it. But if it's the only way we can stay on top of the work, then I had to put something in to compare it. What would it cost to do this?
Do you realize, I just want to pat you on the back here, Tim, you realize how different that is from most department heads who, when confronted by a problem, always say, oh, we got to hire another person. That's it. There's no other way, there's no other solution. I'll hire somebody else.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that.
As you just said, as if you weren't introducing another huge uncertainty into the whole mix by hiring another person. As if you just took one person off the shelf and threw them in like it was another brick in the wall, and everything would work out. So I have to congratulate you on
Well, I got
your
that from,
reluctance.
I'll have to give credit where credit is due there. That's Becky Nolan. She was the City of Eau Claire finance admin for years. And she said, you IT people, it's hardware and software, those things you buy, that's cheap. People are expensive. That's what's expensive. And I'm like, no, you're right. So,
Thanks, Tim.
appreciate it. Any other questions? Again, some of you will be getting more information. I'm probably going to be sending the presentation and the spreadsheets out with the detail on how I came up with the budget. And I'll be sending that out to you in an email so you can look it over and see how I came to those numbers, if that's okay.
So one question. So when Samuels gave us that $43 million or whatever, there was some in there for technology, but you don't know how much, what was attached to it.
Correct.
Is that basically what you're telling us?
Yeah. Kurt,
Okay.
from the beginning, stated that, yes, Tim, you're gonna have a data center and you'll be able to put all the equipment you need in it. But that number is always gonna lag because it's not something that they don't design that. You know, when they're building this jail, these people have a lot of experience. They know exactly what we're trying to do, they know the numbers, and then they patch in the solution. But IT is different from county to county regardless of, because some of them are further along in the process and have different technology needs. Others don't go in for that. They'd rather just put it all out in the cloud somewhere. So they don't really design a number into that part of the process. He just promised me, your stuff is in there, I just can't give you a number.
And who knows how many changes will be in technology in 2 years by the time we're done.
Which is, yeah, that's always the great, you make a large investment. It happens all the time in small government. We're faced with difficult choices. The I-Series that you purchased in 2015, IBM stopped selling those 2 years later. But it was still a top-of-the-line unit when you bought it. So it's one of those things. Technology sometimes races out and wrecks you, so.
Okay, we probably should get back to the item that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Is that
Thank you.
27, the resolution, is that for this year that would cover? Is that-
Those hours would not expire.
No, but this 27,000 that you're talking, that would be for this year?
That would be, I'm hoping for that approval right away so that I can secure the block of time, and then over the next 2 years, we'll be using that
And then
time.
for the next budget, you could include that in your budgeting process?
If that is the way the property committee would like to go.
Okay,
The 9,800 you'll come and ask later, that's gonna fit into your budget.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to come back to, I was gonna discuss that with property committee, as a separate item. I'm not asking for that yet.
okay, so back to our resolution.
Can I ask one question?
ahead.
Did that resolution have that it was non-lapsing or anything like that?
I did not say anything about
Because Tim,
that.
if you don't use it all at the end of this year, you,
I'll pay for the block up front, but I don't have to use the hours
Oh,
with the
got it.
company. Those would carry over.
So you're gonna spend 27,000, but it may go on to a longer period of time
Correct.
with this company that
Yeah,
you're,
if we solve the problems and have the time left over, I could use it for different projects.
for different
going forward.
projects, okay. Any other questions or discussion? So, all those in favor of transferring the $27,000 from the general fund to the IT for technology security consulting? Roll call for this one? Okay. Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Yes?
Brandt, yes?
And Wallach, yes. So the and, okay, John, have you been hearing us?
Yeah.
You vote yes also?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have 5-0, so that has been approved then. And now do you,
sign that one?
yep, and then you put that on the county board agenda then? Oh, this is property committee, executive finance.
Thank you, George.
Oh, let's see. So how is this? Okay, let's see here. Okay, is there anything else from you? Tim, anything else from you then today? Okay, so moving on then for the funding, the electric bill for the county food pantry.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to introduce Dave.
You should have that resolution.
Yeah.
Yes, that we do have, yes.
Introduce David McCray, who is, what's your title, Director, Coordinator? Chairman of the food pantry that's currently located at the old healthcare center building. We had a motion and a second to approve a resolution offering the county's financial assistance for the electric bill that has increased significantly over the last 2 years at the food pantry. The question came up, as per the minutes, as for clarification and perhaps having and asking for a representative of the food pantry to make that presentation. It was, I think, my responsibility to get copies of what I had shared with you last time to everybody, which unfortunately I waited until today to do. And as Tim was saying, he was trying to digest that before the meeting. I think David will run through if it's okay with the chair and the committee, will run through the narrative as well as the graph, the really dramatic graph that's enclosed in this packet. I do want to add, and this was something that Paul gratefully has put on our desks. Our Corp Counsel had mentioned that a previous Attorney General had opined that it would be untoward for counties to help support local municipal food pantries. But since that time, the Wisconsin Legislative Council analysis from March of this year provides additional analysis and concludes a court may likely uphold the county's authority to donate funds to a nonprofit food pantry, notwithstanding the Attorney General's 2017 opinion. And then the sort of the bottom of that is saying that I'll just read it. In an effort to provide a level of clarity as counties prepare for the ARPA distribution, the Wisconsin Counties Association has asked General Counsel Andrew Phillips, to thoroughly analyze the issue so counties can make the appropriate decision on how to utilize their ARPA funds. Attorney Phillips will prepare guidance which will be distributed to the entire county family as soon as possible. Basically, Wisconsin Counties Association has an opinion that this is not the Attorney General's opinion from 3-4 years ago would not constrain us from donating if that was an issue. So, and this just showed up today. So David, if it's okay with the committee, he's got a presentation.
I'd like to thank the Trumpealeau County Board for allowing me this opportunity to bring before you the Trempealeau County Food Pantry, which I contend has been nothing short of miraculous. So on behalf of the recipients and the volunteers of the county food pantry, we cannot thank the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center enough for their gracious benevolence of allowing the Trempealeau County Food Pantry the use of their annex facility, unloading dock, space, room to store and distribute food for the county residents who are experiencing, excuse me, food insecurity, especially now. The pantry had arrived back in June of 2018 at the present facility with only 4 medium chest freezers, which were filled for 2 weeks and mostly emptied, and then one might have been left with some food in it for the remaining 2 weeks. The attached chart notes the additional freezers that were added to assist in the increase of frozen food that needed to be stored, acquired and stored. Refrigerators were added, but could not begin to accommodate the refrigeration needs. Thankfully, last November, we were able to implement a walk-in refrigerator, a room, 13 feet by 22 feet, with the ability to store about 15,000 pounds of food. In fact, in November, we stored 6,000 pounds of food for that month's distribution. The total distribution for that month was 23,288 pounds. Freezer space has been a challenge as well, even with 14 large and small freezers. Last year, we had to take pallets of frozen food from the delivery trucks to Bush's Locker Meat Service in Independence a couple of times because we simply did not have the freezer space to store them. The American Legion Wisconsin Vice Commander Paul Bessler, a resident of Trumpealeau County, wanted to know what he could do to help the food pantry, especially at the onset of the COVID last March. He sensed the need for a walk-in freezer and began a pursuit campaign in search of one, calling me from time to time with what he had found. He talked it up to anyone who would listen. He made a contact through another commander of the 10th District, Larry Larson, who worked, a person that worked at a company in River Falls, and they were receptive, the company was receptive to making a walk-in freezer donation. They sent us some schematic plans of the units that they had made to order, but for some reason, the buyer didn't go through with the purchase. So we were asked 31 March to choose a unit for them to start working on preparing it for us and preparing as a donation of that unit itself. This happened so quick and I was stunned by the breathtaking potential of the donation. I forgot I hadn't got around to asking for approval from the healthcare center for its potential installation. So 8 April 21, 21, I contacted and went to see John Berg, the coordinator of the rehabilitation at the annex, who has been awesome to work with through this whole food pantry augmentation, and shared with him this potential donation, how big, et cetera. He immediately sent an email to Bill Kirshner, the grounds manager, which prompted a meeting with the administrator, Jerry Dietz, I misspelled it on my paper, and the financial secretary, Lori Gonert, and Bill Kirshner on the 10th of April. 16th of April. It was brought to my attention that they had calculated that the pantry was consuming about $600 of electricity a month, and that they were a nonprofit organization with a tight budget and would appreciate assistance with the food pantry's electrical utility usage. I interpreted that to mean that until the present concern of electrical usage was addressed, the potential of a walk-in freezer probably would not be viable. I had to convey to them the ignorance I had about the added burden of the electrical usage when they had already gifted the county with the use of its critical, valuable infrastructure, without which the magnitude of these past months particularly would have been virtually impossible at any previous pantry location. In fact, the majority of the volunteers are from a former pantry in Strum Lutheran Church basement, who state that they are so glad that it was here and not there because of the efficiency and increased capacity this facility afforded it. The unloading dock for the 2 trucks and a semi that come each month now during the COVID, with the adjacent room to store and to distribute food, again, without which this magnitude of response would have been extremely difficult at best. We had no idea this degree of food insecurity was in our future, but someone did. And thankfully coordinated, orchestrated, and moved upon the people's hearts to make it happen. Since arriving at the annex of the healthcare center, by the grace of God and his help, 12,427 people have been assisted with emergency food and help to make this happen. And 4,113,281 pounds of food have been disseminated to our neighbors in need. To help make this happen, 4,596 hours of volunteer precious time has been donated to others through the pantry in spite of their own risk to health these last 14 months. Before I conclude the paragraph, I would like to address the chart that I have prepared for you. It lists the time frame from when we arrived in June 2018 until April is what I made the chart out for at the time. On the left, it has the indication of when we acquired freezers, refrigerators, a walk-in cooler, et cetera. Not a walk-in cooler, but just a two-door cooler. The people served each month as the next column, and then each month. On the right-hand side is the pounds of food served at each month, and then the hours that was donated each month. Coming down to the bottom, I broke it down. The first 12 months of the COVID, we served 7,372 people, gave out 221,000 pounds, 367 pounds of food. In 14 months, we served 8,398 people, having given out 257,000 pounds, 808 pounds of food. The total amount of people served since arriving is 12,427 people with 413,281 pounds of food. And then the list of the 14 freezers, 2 refrigerators, a cooler, and a walk-in refrigerator. These increased acquisitions of units have contributed significantly to our electrical usage that did not exist when we arrived, nor had we anticipated we're going to be needing them. I applaud the Trumpealeau County Healthcare Center for its patience, and finally, I appreciate that they simply had to say something to help us appreciate what was their added burden. One other thing before I conclude as well. The pounds of food basically represent the amount of money that is being donated to the county. 2/3 of that would be 60% around 60% would be USDA donation to our county. So of the, let's say of the 14 months, 257,000, 60% of that would have been donated from USDA. We are our food pantry is an extension of the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which the USDA gives money, donates food through that program to counties, entities, but we are required to match that food, be it pounds or in quantity, ourselves to receive that food. So technically, we had to basically match that half of that 221 or 257,000, so 126,000 pounds of food we would have to match. Their assessment to their food is about $1.58 a pound. I just averaged all out so that basically we have somebody has been donating about $257,000 of food by way of food to the county for the 14 months of the COVID. We received donations from private citizens, from businesses, from churches. From businesses we have received, and churches. I can list the churches, for example, Pigeon Falls Lutheran Church, Farganus Church, the Levistrom Church, Whitehall United Methodist Church. We have received money from the Arcadia community chest, from the Tri-County Health Foundation, Gunnison Tri-County Foundation, from hard to read my writing here. Let's see. Oh, the Lions Club in Whitehall, the pantry, the food pantry in Blair. I hope I haven't left out any other donations. And then, so that comes to about $6,180 for the year. We have private donations that came to $2,595. That includes some equipment donations. So the total of our donations we received for the year has been $7,575. With that money, we are leveraging to make up for that 100,000 that base pounds of food, plus just in the COVID, we have leveraged to acquire that food, which is nothing short of, I contend, miraculous. We don't have the funds to additionally pay for electrical usage as of now. If we had to find it, Lord willing, we would find it. So I just wanted to explain a little bit about our financial status, where the money comes from, where we're at, our responsibility, we live within our means. So if we don't have the money, we don't spend it. So we are challenged. So we thankfully that the Feed My People food service in Eau Claire have donations from different organizations of companies that we take advantage of those free donations, and that's how we are able to leverage so much food in part with in essence so little amount of money to make this all happen. So having said that, let me conclude with the last. Therefore, to relieve the added burden to the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center of the electrical utility usage by the Trempealeau County Food Pantry, on behalf of the Trempealeau County Food Pantry, I, David McRae, Chairman, am requesting the Trempealeau County Board to consider supporting the pantry by reimbursing the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center with the calculated estimate amount conveyed to me by the administrator of the healthcare center, Mr. Jerry Dietz, of about $600 a month. I thank you for this opportunity and utmost consideration in this matter. Respectfully, David McRae.
Mr. Chair, I should know this, but I don't know for sure. At this moment, if it's appropriate, I would make a motion to take the resolution, which had been tabled last month until this month's meeting, off the table for reconsideration.
Okay, so this was read last month.
Yes. Let me see. Let's see. Chair Wallach read the resolution.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Discussion was held. Motion second to table until next meeting. Motion carried.
Okay.
This is why we get the minutes.
That's, yeah.
So I move to take it off the table for reconsideration.
Okay. Okay, we have a second. Any further discussion on taking it off the table? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Austin?
He was talking. He said something.
Oh. What you looking for?
Second.
Motion off, we had tabled this last month, so we're having a motion to take it off the table.
I agree.
Okay.
All right.
Aye, so that motion passes.
So if I could continue and follow up with what David was saying, and this is the thing I wanted to read. Pardon? We did. That was at the last meeting. To read the minutes.
The motion was to table it last.
No, the motion funding electric bill, read the resolution, motion and a second to approve the resolution by Brandt and Austin. Discussion was held, and then a motion and a second to
And that was
table.
overridden by, oh, you did make a motion?
There was a motion and a
Yeah.
second to table the motion that had been made.
That you'd already voted on?
No, that we hadn't voted on after just.
The table one overrides the first resolution.
Paul is our head parliament.
All right, in which case I would make a
So
motion
then
to.
do I need to reread it then?
I don't know.
No, okay.
So I would make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, a motion to approve by George, second.
I'll second.
Okay, we second by Tim. Do we need to discuss it any further?
I would like to bring-
Okay, go, you want to make your comments now, yes.
If I could,
Go ahead.
if I could.
You're leading the charge here, George.
Yeah, I was, this is what I was looking for in this analysis from Wisconsin Counties Association. In recent discussions with various stakeholders, WCA staff noted how cooperative relationships with our municipal partners would likely form as a result of the ARPA funding based upon the shared goals associated with negating the adverse consequences the pandemic has caused. Now, that they're talking about ARPA funds, and we're talking about general funds at this point, but it is the boat that we're all in together is the adverse effects caused by the pandemic, and the need, which on some level is continuing in terms of the for food, and the incredible opportunity we have, as Mr. McCray pointed out, to join this host of people who are donating hours, money, food, and the healthcare center, physical space, a freezer company, the freezers, and my perspective is that the county is missing from this picture at this point, and it's the least we could do for the people of Trempealeau County is to make it possible for those in need to access the food that they need, and for those who are willing to volunteer to provide that, to do that in an efficient way. That's my spiel.
And so up until this point, the healthcare center was willing to a minimal expense for electrical costs, but now it's become so outrageous that they have,
In my conversation with
Jerry.
Lori, she was mildly insistent that something had to be done, without actually insisting that we do something. She made it clear that they could not continue at the rate they were doing it, offering free electricity.
Any other discussion?
Yes. I guess I want to return and review the consent. I'm going to be voting yes, okay. But I do want to review the conceptual part of this. And that is, and this is for Mr. McCray too, because you're looking at 4 board members here today, but when you go before the full board, you'll be looking at 17, probably 17 board members if they're all there. What you're asking for is for the board to allocate levy dollars, that's tax dollars, to a community service. So it's I guess I want everybody to understand what's going on. So these are dollars, this is money that has been taken from the people of Trempealeau County by taxation, and given, not given, but we, this committee especially, are custodians of that money. We are asked on a fairly regular basis to donate. We have the library that comes up every year, and the county fair comes up, and we've had other requests for donations. And I always want to look at those requests for donations with a certain amount of, not so much skepticism, but just caution. And letting the taxpayers know that, yes, we know we are donating your money. We think this is a worthy cause. And it's also easier for we, the board members, to justify that donation when we hear things like George just mentioned, we are sharing the burden of providing the service. There is that the food pantry has accepted, I believe you said something like $7,500 in food. And I would submit that if you added up all the volunteer hours, you would best know what that dollar figure is. But if you put a minimum wage cost on each of those hours, and you multiplied that by the amount of people and the amount of hours, that would greatly exceed $7,500. So there's another donation from the county going into this service, and so you're asking us to kick in approximately $7,200. It's easier for us, for we board members, to justify that donation to our constituents when we can say, well, all these other people, all these other groups have already contributed. But what they really need here is some hard cash dollars. Something in addition to just, not just, but something in addition to ours. So I guess I'd just like everybody to hear that and make sure if there's anybody listening that they hear that before we go any further with this.
Okay, one thing, they are only asking for 5,000.
And that was as of last month.
Through this year.
Through this year, yeah.
Right, but
So
This
not-
will have to come forward again, correct?
yeah, it was almost certainly going to come up again next
Well,
year.
and my point is, the healthcare center is donating, he said it's averaging 600 a month, which is 7,200. They're asking for 5,000. So the healthcare center is still footing part of the electrical bill.
Well, if David could probably clarify this more than I do, but his point is that they don't live beyond their means, and David, you've described how there's a lot of shifting around of leftover food to consolidate so freezers can be turned off and turned on and so forth. But this is the $600 a month was the number that was given by their maintenance guy, and the what would the rest of the year be? 6 more months. Yeah, so that's how we came up with the
You're talking about the rest of
5,000.
this year. Okay.
Yeah, that's how we came up with the $5,000, not to exceed 5,000. And I don't think it would come up next year. My guess is that there would be a budget line item. It would come up during the budget time. So that would be my
It would
perspective.
still be a donation, but
Yes,
even if
yes.
it were a budget line.
And I appreciate the library's comment, the comment about the libraries and the fair. It sort of comes into that.
What on earth?
Is this a Monty Python sketch?
Yeah, I mean-
Yes.
Hello? Oh, hang on, because they're talking about you right now.
Oh, dear.
Your deeds or?
Oh,
Hang on. I gotta get the phone by the mic. Okay.
push the button, hang up, and
I think you're on now. Go ahead, Lori, talk.
Okay, this is Lori Gallagher.
oh, great. Hi, Lori.
Make one comment. I did email Rick Niemeyer on the correct location of the food pantry, and I just wanted to make that comment to be sure it's the correct location on the resolution.
Lori, what would you call it? Just the old healthcare center building?
Yeah, it would be, it's in an unused portion of the old TCHCC building.
Okay.
So it's not the annex facility?
It's not the annex,
in
yes.
Independence?
Oh, so the resolution's incorrect?
With the location of it's at the old healthcare center
Yeah,
building?
it does say annex.
Yeah, it
Right.
does say
So
annex.
we could change that, we could be sure to change that with an amendment.
Right.
Okay, yep, very good.
We're worried about the dollars, not the location.
Yep, okay.
Well, but somebody could get sticky
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Lori.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
It takes a bookkeeper to find those things, right?
Well, not to mention, people are watching.
It is as simple as just crossing on that.
Yes, it put old before the old Trempealeau County Healthcare Center and then.
You could
cross
actually,
that.
in your motion, make that
With
amendment
that
right now,
amendment.
and Rick will type a new one up.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
You didn't type this, it's not your fault.
So again, I appreciate you mentioning that.
Okay, any further discussion before we act on this?
What can we change? Why don't
Do
you
we,
change?
so
change
can
the
I,
motion?
can I?
Should we
I mean, it's
make a new motion then to accept it with the specified change of
Yes, I would,
location?
if we could make a friendly motion, I would accept the change as presented by Lori Glonert from the Healthcare Center to cross out annex as the description of the location and put old before the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center facility. If that's okay with my second.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so we have a friendly amendment.
Okay, so we'll vote on the amendment first. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed, same sign? Okay.
One more point of discussion, and
Go
this is, David, maybe you can help me with this. Paul's office is going to have to communicate every month with Lori's office, or Lori's office in terms of how this money gets transferred, okay? I'm assuming you can work that out? Okay, good. I just wanted to clarify that.
It won't go as just one month. So
No.
it's fine. It's gonna go monthly.
Right.
Okay.
I'll work that out with Lori, because maybe she'll send me a bill every month.
And that would start as soon as this motion is passed. So this would have to go before the county board
Yeah.
next Monday or a couple weeks from now. Okay, anything else before we vote on the assistance to the county food pantry? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay, that motion passes then, and you'll put it on the agenda,
And I'll give you the resolution.
and we'll sign it just Monday before the, oh, the back sheet is separate, yes. Or did I send that around with the old one?
No, I got it right here.
Okay,
This one was already put in too.
okay.
Thank you.
I have 4 minutes to get to another meeting, so I'm gonna have to leave.
Talk louder, John.
I have 4 minutes to get to another meeting, so I'm going to.
Okay,
have
we're
to
about done. We just have a couple of real quick items. Okay, thanks for attending, John.
leave. Thanks, bye.
Not necessarily quick.
Not, yeah, I'm leaving also, because I'm gonna go break cake, so, we got the business part done.
Okay, yep.
George, when you finish speculating, George, you let me know, and we'll talk about it. Okay.
This one's gonna be fast, but I gotta tell it before you leave.
What's that?
The COVID reimbursement update?
Yes. I'll get both your signatures on these, okay? Tell me when you're ready
Just
for
real
that.
quick, could we go back and apply for COVID funding for this?
I'm gonna try that one, and this
Okay,
one,
yep.
for FEMA.
Yep.
I'm gonna do it for FEMA. But are you to the next one now?
Yep, we are, yep, we're ready to
Okay,
go.
we got our $540,000 from the COVID money,
Okay,
okay? The FEMA money is $615,000. That's been submitted, and we should be seeing that money soon, okay? Now we go to the ARPA money. This is where I have a little problem, because the only way you can go into the portal, and I wish Tim would have stayed here for this part, but you have to go in and submit a copy of the front and back of your driver's license, which I had no problem with. But then I had to, and this is all got to be done with a cell phone. So it's been being done with my personal cell phone.
personal cell phone.
Okay? Well, his department's been very involved in it, so. Anyway, the third step and final step is that you have to do a selfie with your phone and submit it to their link that they send to your phone. Okay? My phone is supposed to be a smartphone, but it's not that smart. It will not allow the selfie, and IT has come in and tried and tried and tried, and it won't. So I submitted a thing to the feds. It went to the Department of Treasury anyway, and this has happened to many people across the United States. I'm case number 6,052, and they don't know when they'll get to me. So I've talked to other people in the state. Once they get that done, or their phones are smart enough to do that selfie, they have the money within 4 days. We still don't have our money because I can't do a selfie of myself. It has to be a live selfie, yep. Because they send you the link, and then you do the selfie on that link in your phone. And so Kathy worked for, I bet you, 2 hours one day.
$5.7 million based on someone's
Cell phone.
Right now, that is the holdup for the money anyway. So you can still talk about what you want to do with the money, but we can't do anything until we get the money. So I wanted everybody to know that part.
That adds a bit of humor.
Well, except, and I'm sorry you're leaving, Tim, because this is, we'll have to continue this conversation about how we determine what form the determination is going to take as to how it is the money is dispersed. So that's, and I'm not going to start that conversation without you in the room, so.
Okay.
So, I want.
This item is on the agenda every month anyway,
Yeah.
so it'll be back. And I'll expand it a little more to.
Unless, Beth, do you want to,
Go ahead, Beth.
come on up.
When I was clerk at the town of Arcadia, I was a member of the Wisconsin Towns Association, and I love their monthly magazine because there's so much good information in it. So I forget the term, but an associate member of the Towns Association, Wisconsin Towns Association. So I just got the June magazine, and there's a long article from Mike Colas in here about using the ARPA money. And he, at least twice, he said, patience, patience, patience. You don't have to hurry up and spend the money because you have time to do that. And
Till 2024.
yeah. So then there were also some guidelines, of course, for towns, but I thought a lot of it applied for counties also, on how you can use, your ARPA money, which is still being, decided upon, and more guidance coming. So I just wanted to kind of put a plug in for sharing this article with the county board. And also, I think Jeannie Nutter had mentioned at our PTED meeting, and maybe even at the county board meeting, about getting a group like the transition money. And I think that would be a good idea, because departments that I work with are coming up with all kinds of ideas, but somebody's going to have to filter out those ideas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, if I put in the pitch, and again, we'll need to be talking about this for a significant amount of time. I saw that Andy Phillips has been tasked with coming up with the recommendations on how to proceed from WCA, but the last two dispersions of significant amount of money happened in two different ways. With the first CapEx money, we used a combination of citizen and elected official group to put out requests for proposals, and then they analyzed and made recommendations to the county board, which worked wonderfully, in my opinion. The second time, we looked for suggestions from departments, which didn't work quite so well, and not to say it wasn't a good choice, because we certainly needed it at highway at the time, but all the money went to the highway department. So I would suggest that it becomes sort of a combination at this point, with citizens, elected officials, and department heads all having the discussion about where the need is. And twice now in the last month, I've heard the phrase, opportunity of a generation, opportunity of a lifetime, to have this kind of money with as broad of opportunities of where to put it, to have serious and lasting impact on not only the infrastructure of the county, but the citizens of the county, potentially life-changing for people in the county. So that's why this needs to be a serious discussion, and patience, good advice. Yeah, a long and serious discussion. I just wanted to be sure that in a sense, it needs to start here, exec finance, and then spread out from there in terms of who it is that has eyes and is sitting at the table. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else then? Okay, our last item then is to set the next meeting date, and he put the calendar up, and it's a mess next month because the first Monday is the 5th of July, which is actually a holiday because the 4th is on a Monday, or on Sunday, so the 5th is a holiday, so do we want to go wait to the 11th, or do we want to go to a Tuesday?
Well, this is, what's the date, 7th, so.
Yeah.
I would say Tuesday myself, otherwise it gets
Keep it, yeah,
back-
then we're going to run into meetings of other committees. Beth?
PTED is meeting on Tuesday, July 6th at 8:30.
Okay, but
What's that?
PTED
PTED,
is meeting July 6th at 8:30.
that won't conflict with any of us, will it?
I don't think anybody
No.
on this committee is.
Except the room.
Well, that was my next question. was
Or
we also-
they're meeting at
Meeting here
8:30?
now that we,
Could we go to 10 o'clock? Were you done in an hour and a half usually?
I will be zooming in, and I'm the chair, so I'm gonna try and keep that meeting going fast, so I can get to the pool and the golf, mini golf and that kind of stuff.
So maybe should we go the 5th then at 10 o'clock? Does that sound?
The
Or excuse me, the 6th, Tuesday the 6th.
Force your
at-
committee to move on with that.
I'll tell Rob he's gotta keep it short, because we're out of here at 10.
Okay, so we can come in. Okay, does that sound best for
Well,
everybody
that's
then?
perfect for me.
Okay.
well, the other question was gonna be, now that we have the Wisconsin room open again, you could have gone back there.
Yeah.
But if you want to
It's,
stay
it's all set up
virtual-
nice here. I think we're, okay, so we'll set it as
But it wouldn't
July
be live
6th
in
at 10 o'clock.
Wisconsin. Well, you couldn't do two at the same time, right? Or
No.
No, yeah, so we'd run into that problem. Okay, anything else then?
Thanks, Chuck.
If not, I'll adjourn the meeting at 11:06.